welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses in different chapters on what they love about their business and being a part of the BNI family. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Jennifer with us today. Jennifer, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Macy. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Well, we got connected through a mutual connection over there in BNI St. Augustine. Liz, who was just an amazing guest. I'm sure we both know how amazing she is and how much fun she is. So I'm super excited to dive in and share a little bit about what you're doing because you're doing some really important work for our community. So why don't you take it away and just tell us a little bit about how you're helping people right now?
Sure. So my name again is Jennifer Hill. I am with Senior Provisions. We are family-owned, faith-based. Our goal is to help families walk through the process of solutions for their senior loved ones. So it can be anything from home care to home health, assisted living, independent living, memory care, transportation, questions about next steps in the journey of caring for their senior loved ones. Maybe they have a question about how do I find someone for physical therapy? I think my mom needs a little bit more help. Anything to do with caring for seniors, we can help in that capacity. And then we follow along with that family on their journey to caring for their loved one. So they have questions along the way. It's not a one and done process. It is a emotional decision for them. It affects them emotionally, financially. It puts a time
Mm,
restraint, especially when they're trying to do all the research on their own. It's overwhelming. So we like to keep the son and daughter the son and daughter. And we do the work to help them so that they can remain the son and daughter and not be caught up in a caregiving journey that can be
mm,
very stressful if you don't have that support. So,
mhm,
Senior Provisions is based in the Atlanta area. I am an advisor here in Jacksonville, so we do have coverage in that area as well. My background is home care. I joined Senior Provisions back in April of last year, and I have 20 years of experience in the caregiving capacity, home care consulting. I've been working and doing this for a while, so I have a very in-depth wealth of knowledge from many angles to help families.
Well, that's perfect. And that's so important because what you mentioned is you don't want some of these sons and daughters, and especially as a lot of these people have their own families too, and they might not even be living in the same city or maybe even the same state as,
Sure,
their parents. And it's hard to take on that caregiver role, and it adds just so much stress to
sure.
their relationship and their life and stuff like that. I'm just curious because maybe not everyone knows that a service like this exists, right? And maybe
Mhm.
they're starting to look into
Sure.
avenues for their parents and their family, and they might go, "Wait, this sounds like something I need, but I'm not exactly sure, like what can Jennifer really help me with?" If you want to go just a little bit into
Sure.
here and go, "Oh, that's right, I do. I would need someone to help me with that."
Absolutely. And a lot of times it is when you think of a senior care advisor, there is somebody in your circle of reach that would love to know about what we do. So
Mm,
as a senior care advisor, our services are done at no cost to the family. So the way they reach out to us is usually through a friends and family that may connect them with us. But education is a big part of getting the word out for what a senior care advisor does. So when we connect with the families, we do a inquiry process to help them uncover what they are looking for specifically, what their needs are. Oftentimes people don't know, a senior care advisor, they've never thought of it, or they think of it at the wrong time. They've already gone through the process and they wish they had held help. So we really depend on people within the community, that education. We do support groups in the area. We have education in the area to help people understand that we are available. We're ready to help. I have a support group here in Fleming Island at Hibernia Baptist Church that we have on the third Thursday of every month to help families. We also have an education series on St. Augustine on the island that is running on Thursdays as well. That is actually right after BNI on Thursdays at the church. It starts at 9:45, so we can post those up as well. Education is key. Having a senior care advisor is something really every family should connect with because we all have seniors in our lives, whether it be our friends or our immediate family that help and that support.
That's really special, and I'm so glad you brought up the support group as well, because that's really important for a lot of people, and especially because you mentioned, you guys are a faith-based organization, and especially when I know so many people have those beliefs and their belief system when they're going through these changes, it's so important to have like-minded people supporting them through that and being like,
Mm.
I understand completely on what you follow, why you follow it, and everything like that. And I share that value. And that's why we have that same goal
Sure.
of making sure you're as cared for as possible. And it just adds that extra level of comfort, I think. I know I feel so much more comfortable when I can completely relate to the person helping me out or anything like that.
Sure. And caring for the caregiver is so important.
Mm,
Oftentimes, you hear when you get on an airplane, put your mask on first and
right.
then help your child. It's the same concept. When you are caring for a senior, oftentimes that caregiver does not provide time for their own rest or their own care needs. And so then sometimes you have two people that share a challenge that have a problem that can be prevented. Caring for the
Hmm.
caregiver is important. It is critical, not just for that individual, but for the person that they're caring for. And so there is an
Definitely.
absolute balance there. I've had situations when I did home care where we actually had to take care of the daughter and the mom
Mm,
because the daughter was so involved in the care that she received a diagnosis or became ill and had challenges as well. So it's a very real thing. And that is another, again, education piece of how to care for your loved one. And that is something that we will talk about in our series at Anastasia Catholic Church on the island in a 7 dimensions of wellness um, presentation that is very helpful for individuals as well.
amazing. That's so special, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because you shared a little bit about it. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't be expected to take care of another
Mm.
person, and that's the biggest thing. And now, two people are at a disservice when, neither of them should really be at any type of disservice. So it's that, I guess, learning of, like you mentioned, education of knowing what's out
Mhm.
there.
Yes.
Well, switching gears just a little bit, but this is a
Sure.
great topic, and I'm gonna make sure I have all of Jennifer's information in the description. People can click, check out senior provisions, see what makes sense for their family, or like you mentioned, just finding some education, finding that support group is really important. But yeah, so who's the first person that invited you to BNI? How'd you find out about it?
So my BNI experience began in 2012. Been in
Wow.
BNI for a while. So I took over a seat in my BNI chapter because at the time our office manager resigned. And so I started going to the BNI meetings. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that BNI has been a life-changing,
Mm-hmm.
um, career-changing path. The education that you receive in BNI,
Mm,
apart from the networking, is beyond exceptional. What I have learned in BNI, what I have gained from relationships, from a professional to now a friendship level. My BNI is a family. We are a family that support each other. We care about each other. We invest in each other, not just from a professional level, but on a friendship level. The networking piece of BNI is so valuable because it's not your typical let's go to a networking group and check a box. And if you're there, you're there, and if you're not, you're not. Doesn't matter what time you show up. If you leave late, um, if you leave early, if you show up late, BNI holds you accountable.
mm,
The quality and the level of people that are able to come into BNI is held at a standard. So it makes it above and beyond your average networking group. It is a very powerful organization. Um, I went to college at JU, and I will
mm,
tell you that I believe if they could find a way to incorporate what BNI is
Mm,
at a level when someone is in college that it can be life-changing for their business.
yeah.
Absolutely can. Mhm.
Definitely. And I loved how you highlighted that, what BNI is, right? Because you mentioned
Mhm.
it's more than a networking. It's
Yep.
easy to look at BNI like, oh, that's such a commitment, so much work. But I've talked to so many people, but a lot of things that BNI believes in, a lot of the standards that we have in BNI are things that we should be doing anyway, right?
Mhm.
Giving people referrals, doing our one-to-ones with different business owners, learning about them, referring them, and finding what makes sense for our clients to be like, hey, I think this would be helpful for you. Let's just meet with this gentleman that I know that, I love him and he'll do right by you. Stuff like that. These are things we should be looking out for our clients anyways. And just some of the standards of, like CEUs or something that's very important in BNI.
Sure.
We should be wanting to, continue our education when it comes to networking, building relationships, as well as our field as well. So again, these are things that we should be incorporating to our daily schedule anyway, and having that BNI accountability, I think for me has done, what light years ahead,
Yes.
than
It's
I was
amazing
before.
having the connection, isn't it? Having those
Mm,
people that you can help your clients with to
right.
feel know the value and you have a relationship. I just passed a referral to Heather Maltby, who is
Mhm.
an attorney. She does estate planning and wills, and
Oh, right.
it's powerful having her as a referral source because she's not just a business partner, but over the years she's become a friend. So I can really refer to her with that knowing we've just given a great referral of somebody who can really help my client. And there are so many people in that chapter that just have that relationship. We had a gentleman he was a detailed cars. And
Mm,
believe it or not, he became one of my number one top referral sources. He
wow.
was feeding me referrals, and I'm thinking, I would never have thought that someone who details cars would be walking in saying, have a referral. Well, he knows his clients. It's repeat business. And those are things that you just don't think of unless you join a BNI to see the person you're sitting across from knows people that can refer to you. It's
Right.
not just about looking at them to go, oh my gosh, they wash cars. How can they help me? They can. They can help you.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so special, and I'm so glad you brought that up as well, because we never know who knows who. And
Mhm.
I know another big, I don't know, panic point or anxiety point for people is like, oh, I don't want to push a referral on a client. I don't want to force them to go do business with someone else. But
Sure.
I mean, I think that's something you learn in practice when you just have natural conversations with your clients because you want to get to know them, and that's important. Is
Mhm.
that a lot of these things they need anyway. Like I know
Mhm.
on Facebook, a Facebook friend of ours, she needed, what was it? I think roofing or something like that done, one of those home services. And she was like, I or fencing, I think it was. Like she was like, I really needed someone to help me with my fence. I've been ghosted by three different people,
Huh.
scammed and ghosted by three different people. And it's like you never know, if you don't give someone like, hey, I know this roofer or fencer in our BNI chapter
Mhm.
who's absolutely amazing, and we know that they'll do right. My mom immediately gave that referral. She's like, "Hey, you should just really call this guy. He's a great guy. I've gotten to know him for the past few months in BNI. Definitely worth." And he came out and he did a great job for her, hands down. So
That's
it
awesome.
it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I'm scared to give the name, but you just never know what someone else might go through or who else they
Sure.
might go to that doesn't do a good job, runs off with their
Sure.
money, or stops answering, stuff like that. It's crazy to think that people like that do business, but you
It
never know.
happens a lot. It happens a lot, unfortunately.
Mhm. It definitely. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. You did an amazing job educating people on what you're doing, how you're helping people, and hopefully someone who's out there listening and they go, oh, I think this is something I need. Hopefully they can learn something a little bit today. But before we wrap up, I have kind of a fun question because you've been in
Sure.
BNI for about like 12 to 13 years, which is incredible.
Yes.
What have you seen change in BNI that you're like, oh, I didn't see this coming, or anything that you've learned in your past 13 years of BNI?
Well, it's neat that you asked that question now because we were recently asked by Stephanie, who is the director of BNI in our region, that we circle back around and do MSP again, whether you've been a
Mm,
member for a year or you've been a member for 25 years. They want everybody to circle back and go back to the basics and reevaluate what you're doing and how it lines up with that. And it's amazing how the tools, if you apply them, how quickly they are successful. And I will say going back and redoing the MSP has been very helpful in the capacity of you don't know when you are in a room, if you yourself are present, we all listen for different things because we all have a different walk in our business of things that, a mover might think of. Someone mentioned somebody's moving. We might listen or hear something else because we all have a different walk of business, right? But we have to teach people of how to listen to give us referrals if we aren't present in that circle. How does that person listen out for your business? And that was just a reminder of how important it is that we do our one-to-ones and we educate people on what we do and how to listen to refer to us. It's
Definitely.
it's critical to the success of our business and to help others. So
Yeah.
that's probably my most recent takeaway from BNI.
Well, that's great. It's great to have those refreshers, and the MSP training is always kind of changing and updating with the times as we go from, completely virtual to hybrid to in person to back to virtual, like stuff like that. There you're always learning. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway I've ever had from MSP is how to structure your 30 to 40 seconds commercial. And I have that standard format that I've had for maybe 8 months since I learned like the actual format, and I've just stuck to it, and it's been so helpful for me. I think people, every time I stand up, even if you're a guest or you've been in the chapter for 30 years, you know what I do, you know exactly what I'm gonna say, and
Sure,
I'm just gonna change it for my referral of the week. So there's always something new that you can learn, and I really appreciate it, you bringing that up. MSP might seem
absolutely.
boring, but there's definitely some really great nuggets in there. So
Absolutely.
Jennifer, again, thank you so much for the time today. This was so much fun and it was really informative for me, so I appreciate the time.
My pleasure. Thank you. God bless.
Of course, and to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.